Breaking news. Donald Trump's latest legislation, the big, beautiful bill, has just been passed by the Senate and the House and is on its way to Donald Trump's desk for signature. From large tax cuts to business owners to large Medicaid and SNAP cuts for the average American, this is going to be one of the most consequential tax bills of the last decade. And during this video, I'm going to be going over the big, the beautiful, and the ugly parts of Donald Trump's new tax legislation so you can know exactly how it will affect your taxes. All that plus more on today's episode. What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of Tax-Free Living. My name is Carter Cofield, licensed CPA, and today we're going to be breaking down Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. It is here. It's official. No more waiting games. No more is it going to be passed by the Senate, the House. It is officially here, and Donald Trump is planning to sign this legislation on the 4th of July, putting it into effect for Americans everywhere. And my goal with today's episode is to give you the big, the beautiful, and the ugly parts of the bill, because there are some good things and there are some bad things. I'm just here to give you not my opinion, but just a full scope of everything it entails so you can be an informed American and know how it would affect your tax situation. So much so, I'm going to read from the bill over here because I don't want to get anything wrong. Like, I have just pulled up the latest bill, and so I want to make sure you all know everything. So the bill just got passed as of 3 p.m. Thursday, July 3rd, and it won with a 214-218 vote. And it barely skimmed, but the Republicans won. And it's more than just taxes with this bill, guys. It's major cuts to Medicaid, to immigration, and SNAP benefits. So it's going to affect Americans everywhere. So as much as I would love to say, like, it's going to be a great tax saving bill, it's going to affect a lot of people. So let's get right into it. So number one, Donald Trump's goal with this proposed tax legislation, first and foremost, was to extend a lot of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act legislation from 2017, right? Which includes lower tax brackets. It includes higher standard deduction, and it also includes the extension of some major tax cuts, which we'll go over in a moment. So first things first, let's talk about the raises to the SALT deduction cap. Okay, the SALT deduction cap normally for most states is $10,000, which if you live in a state like California, that's not doing much because your the SALT cap cannibalizes a lot of your deductions. So with this new legislation, the SALT cap will go up to $40,000 if you're making less than $500,000 a year, which is going to allow a lot of Americans, especially in states like California, to be able to write off a lot more of their state and local tax. So that's number one. Number two, it's going to extend the lower tax brackets to 12%, 22%, and 24%. These were tax brackets that were due to change at the end of this year, but they're now going to be extended for years to come. And the standard deduction for 2025, as you all know, is $15,000. But in 2026, with this new bill, the standard deduction is going to be $16,000 for single and $32,000 for married filing joint, which is going to increase the tax deductions for a lot of Americans everywhere. Number three in this bill is the increase to the child tax credit. The child tax credit was due at the end of 2025 to go back down to $1,000, meaning the tax credit you get per child will only be $1,000. However, with this new legislation in place, the child tax credit will go up to $2,500 per child through 2028. That's $500 more than 2025. So if you have multiple children, you could be getting an increase in $500 per child in tax credits. Now, tax credits are different than tax deductions because tax credits, remember, are $1 for dollar reduction to your tax bill. So this increase to the child tax credit will help a lot of Americans, especially low-income Americans that have a lot of children. Now, let's move on to number 4 in this big, beautiful bill, which is no tax on tips and no tax on overtime pay if you make less than $150,000. Now, the $150,000 cap was added by the Senate in their version of the bill because before this was added, it was no tax on tips and no tax on overtime pay with no income limit. But as we know, the government and the IRS likes to put income caps so the super wealthy aren't able to take advantage of a lot of these major tax breaks. So again, no tax on tips and no tax on overtime pay for gig workers earning less than $150,000 in qualified tips or qualified overtime. Now, this is going to be obviously beneficial to people in hospitality, bartenders, and beauticians who get paid on tips. Now, next I want to discuss, which is going to be huge for business owners everywhere, is the extension of the QBI deduction. The qualified business income deduction is a 20% deduction to your net income in your business. And that 20% deduction was slated to end in 2025. So with the implementation and the execution of this new bill, not only will the QBI deduction not end in 2025, but it will actually increase from 20% to 23% for all eligible business owners. And this has been extended through 2029. So for the next 5 years, small business owners are going to get a 23% tax deduction to their net income of their business, which could lead to major tax benefits. For example, if you're a business owner with net income of $100,000, that means you get a $23,000 tax deduction just for being a business owner. So this is going to be major for small business owners everywhere. I am very excited about the extension of the QBI deduction. So let's move this thing along. Now, this is probably the biggest change in the legislation that will affect business owners the most. And that is, of course, the extension of bonus depreciation. So as you all may or may not know, bonus depreciation for 2025 was down to 40%. It was 60% in 2024, it was 80% in 2023, and it was 100% in 2022. Meaning that if you bought big equipment, or if you bought a vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds, or if you bought a real estate property, you would be able to accelerate your depreciation and write off 100% of the value of that asset. Excluding real estate, you only can write off a certain percentage. But this is major. Why is this major? Because not only does it apply for 2025 and beyond, but it retroactively applies back to previous years. So now, last year, if you bought a vehicle that weighed over 6,000 pounds, but you were only able to write off 60% of it, that 100% bonus depreciation gets extended back to 100%. So this is going to lead to major, not only tax deductions for business owners, but in my opinion, is going to lead to major purchases in the economy. Because when you incentivize business owners to spend money, they go buy cars, they go buy equipment. People start buying more real estate to take advantage of depreciation to offset against operating income. So I think that not only is the bonus depreciation going to bring tax deductions to small business owners, I think it will give a stimulant boost to the economy and get business owners to go back to spending like they were spending back in 2020, 2021, and 2022 when bonus depreciation was back at 100%. Now, those are the good things. But let me be very clear. This bill does not only include good aspects. There are some major detriments in the bill that will be crucial and critical to Americans everywhere. And those cons I'm about to talk about right now. So now let's get to the controversial parts of the bill. We're going to talk about how it affects Medicaid, how it affects SNAP, and how it affects immigration, right? So number one, this is going to, with this new bill, is going to have a major impact to Americans everywhere who are on Medicaid. It is going to drastically reduce the ability to get Medicaid insurance, and more than 10% or 7.6 million people will lose their medical insurance throughout the life of this bill. And it's stated that the CBO estimates a $400 billion reduction over the next 10 years when it comes to Medicaid benefits. So Americans who are less fortunate, who need government assistance, if you're an adult and you're between the ages of 18 and 64, you must work at least 80 hours per month in a qualifying job to be qualified for your Medicaid benefits. And I believe that the purpose of Donald Trump putting this into the bill is that he didn't want Americans who weren't working to get Medicaid. Now, whether that's right or that's wrong, I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I'm just letting you know, if you are on Medicaid, but you were not working and you're between the ages of 18 and 64, your Medicaid could go away. So you need to be aware of this and put a strategic plan in place so that you don't lose this vital medical insurance. Now, not on top of that, not only will a lot of Americans not be qualified for Medicaid, but those on Medicaid will have to pay more to see their doctors. So this is going to negatively affect a lot of Americans who depend on government assistance. And this is why a lot of Democrats were against the bill, because they knew the potential ramifications of lower income households. So not only will people on Medicaid be affected, but people on SNAP will also be affected. So Republicans will institute more work requirements for people who rely on supplemental nutritional assistance programs or food stamps. For ample-bodied people under 64 will also be required to work 80 hours per month, with the exception of those who have children under 10 years old. So what does this mean? Again, if you're between the ages of 18 and 64 with no kids, you need to be working 80 hours or more per week to continue receiving your SNAP benefits. So if you're not working and you're between that age demographic, you need to put a plan in place so you don't lose your SNAP benefits and you don't lose your Medicaid. Now, let's move on to immigration. There will be $350 billion towards hiring border wall protection and surveillance to make sure that illegal immigrants from other countries don't get in. Now, this can majorly affect the workforce for so many reasons. We know that a lot of illegal immigrants work in America and they come over and they actually decrease the cost of some labor. But with that being gone, it could increase the cost of services for Americans. And it looks to me as though the money from the SNAP benefits is moving over to Border Patrol, which, again, I'm not here to give my opinion, but that's just what the tax legislation is showing. So there are also major reforms to education. I'm not going to go through the education and energy rollbacks, but I do want to let you all know that this is one of the largest tax bill legislations that has been passed in the last 10 years. There are some pros, there are some cons, there are some beautiful things, but there are definitely some ugly things in this bill. And you, as an informed American, need to know and need to continuously learn how this will either positively or negatively affect not just your tax situation, but your living situation as well. And my goal with today's episode is to educate you so you can now know, once this bill gets signed in the coming hours, how to move in 2025 so that you can not just survive, but so you can thrive. Please hit the like button, hit that share button, and share this video with somebody else that needs to see this so they can know how to maneuver through this new tax legislation. Other than that, see you all next time. Peace.